Workplace Giving Program. Just fill out the necessary forms and voila, you've given WBAI 2 holiday gifts.
Now your $500 donation becomes a $1,000 donation, and we get to make a greater radio. For details, visit wbai.org/matching.php.
Whether for the holiday season or for tax reasons, donate to Resistance Radio today. The fight continues in 2018.
Imhotep Gary Bird inviting you to join us for Radio GBE, the Global Black Experience and the Global Beat Experience, where the message is in the music. Friday nights, 6 to 8 p.m. Join us for all the features, interviews, guest coverage, and the music mix you've come to expect. And, of course, the things that light up your Friday night here in New York City and across the country and right through the diaspora. Pass the word. Bird is flying high in the New York sky with Radio GBE, radio in the key of life. Friday nights, 6 to 8 p.m., right here on WBAI 99.5 FM and WBAI.org.
And once again, this is WBAI New York, 99.5 FM and WBAI.org on the web. The previous program was the Jordan Journal, hosted and produced by Howard Jordan, heard Fridays at 3 p.m. Thank you, Earth Mum, for those announcements from the Community Bulletin Board. Stay tuned for State of the Arts NYC with Savona Bailey-McClain coming up.
Good evening. This is State of the Arts, where we cover art, and this is your host, Savona Bailey-McClain. Tonight, we have a very special evening where we're going to focus on Leonard Bernstein, Queen Esther, and Linda Nochlin. So, we have with us the co-founder of New York Festival of Song, Michael Barrett, and we will talk about their celebration honoring Leonard Bernstein and his centennial. Also, we have live in the studio Queen Esther, who is back with us again to kick off the holiday season in song. And then we will have in the second half of our show a very special reading of women artists, curators, and creative professionals, including WBAI women producers, reading the groundbreaking essay, Why Have There Been No Great Women Artists, by the late Linda Nochlin. So we're going to start with Queen Esther. How are you, Queen?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Now,
and my guitarist as well, Jeff McLaughlin.
Great. Hi, Jeff. And for our audience, I just want them to know that I've known Queen for like over 20 years.
Oh, well.
Yes.
I wouldn't say it was that long.
It is.
I wouldn't say
Okay.
it was that long.
All right. I won't say that, but I'm letting our audience know. And Queen is a phenomenal singer. She's one of the few singers I know that can sing so many different genres and sing all of them well.
Thank
From
you.
country to gospel to blues to jazz to contemporary. And so tonight she's going to entertain us with new works that she has for her upcoming jazz album, correct?
Yes, I just came out of the studio and we finished recording this album I've been working on for a while. I'm going to call it Things Are Looking Up, I think. But it's lost classics and rare sides from Billie Holiday, as well as original material.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
great.
Profoundly genius, brilliant songwriter, Lenny Molotov. I was working with him for a while, and I kept singing these songs, and I thought, God, I have to record these because they're so good.
All right.
I love the way his songs tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
It's really all about storytelling.
Yes.
So that's my shtick.
Okay, so what would be the first cut, this one that you admire so much?
Yes, Lenny Molotov is a songwriter, and this song is called Flashing in Front of My Eyes.
All right, so let's hear this.
Holding hands while on the midnight train, wading to our knees in Lake Champlain, walking arm in arm along Lover's Lane, out by the light of the fire in flies, waiting in the California sun, harmonizing to a guitar strum. Now I'm like somebody facing a gun. Our love is flashing in front of my eyes. All our milk and honey's now blood in a heavyweight bound. Punch you don't see coming's the one that knocks you down and out. All our milk and honey's now blood in a heavyweight bound. Punch you don't see coming's the one that knocks you down and out. Chocolate kisses and red Bordeaux wine. Diamond ring was a good Valentine. Baby, babe, I had no signal or sign to clue me into your little surprise. Now I see waterman seas when he dies. Our love is flashing in front of my
Fabulous. That was really, really fabulous.
Thank you.
I love that. For our audience, so that they can understand, just how talented Queen is. Queen won the Jazzmobile vocal competition. I remember that.
Oh my gosh, that was so long ago.
Yeah.
Thanks for remembering. That was fun. They gave me a check as big as me. It was a giant. We went out and had a drink later, and I just took it to the bar and propped it up. It had its own chair.
Okay.
That was fun.
Also, you are a favorite over at Governor's Island when they do the Jazz Age lawn party.
Oh, that is so much fun.
Yes, it is.
It's like stepping into a time capsule.
It really, really is.
Have you been?
I have been. It's amazing to see all these people dressed up in 1920 costumes.
No. They're clothes.
Well,
some people are costumed, but some people are actually wearing the clothes from that era, and they really pride themselves on their authenticity in presentation.
it really looks great, particularly when I saw the women who were in the bathing suits. I
Yeah,
thought
those
that
are
was-
real.
Oh, that was really
And
wonderful.
a lot of people, I mean, I guess there's some people who go to Party Barn or Party City and they get whatever they get. But there's some people who seek and destroy. They are out there looking for those gowns, those dresses, and they wear their vintage attire. They're just waiting for the moment to put that gown on or that morning jacket. And it shows. I mean, good grief. The first weekend, 10,000 people showed up.
I couldn't believe it when I saw that many people that was there at Governor's Island.
They've never advertised.
And he does it all by word of mouth and via the internet. And I love the vintage cars too.
Yeah, I know.
I love the vintage cars.
That's
As
irresistible.
they're coming on to the ferry, and it's just like really, really
It's
perfect.
thrilling.
It is. It's just an amazing feeling.
You have to pace yourself. You go out there, you pick a spot on the lawn, you have your parasol to shade you from the sun, you have your luncheon that you bring, you get with a bunch of friends, everyone, you bring the chicken, I'll bring the vegetables, and the next thing you know, you're all splayed out, you're drinking rosé in the sun. I mean, it's basically really elegant day drinking.
Yes, it is.
Which is why you have to be very careful.
Yes.
But they have food out there. There's food trucks.
Oh my God, the amount of food that's there.
The good humor man with his truck. And I'm singing all this Billie Holiday. I'm singing Alberta Hunter.
But what I like about it is it gives you this wonderful feeling of how life used to be, how people cared about each other, looked out for each other to some degree. And
I think everybody in the world had their moment with the 1920s. They were doing something in Shanghai that was different than what they were doing in Harlem, that was different than Berlin. And everyone goes there and converges, and it's this bubble of happiness.
Yes.
I can't even explain it.
It is happiness. That's what I like about it. That's why I like the holidays too, because it's that one time of year where everyone understands it's about happiness, putting a smile on someone's face, giving someone a little extra cheer. And that's why I'm so glad you're here with us in the studio.
That's really sweet. Well, you've got to find those moments every season. I know that the New York Underground Jazz and Swing Festival is happening on Sunday.
Oh, my
From
gosh.
11 a.m. until 6 p.m.
Woo!
For the price of a subway fare. The swipe of your MetroCard gets you in. It's going to start at 96th Street and 2nd Avenue and go down to the F line at 2nd Avenue.
So you're on the subway.
You are on the subway. You are in the subway. Inside, and it's going to be 15 different bands.
Oh my
This is all word of mouth. Nobody advertises it. Nobody really knows. Everyone just really loved the vintage cars that they bring out. The MTA
Yes,
opens up.
yes.
So one day someone said, we should all just get together and have musicians. This has been going on for a few years now. Okay. Now, initially, there was a guy that was selling tickets to a tea social, and he would have thermoses of tea and cake for everybody, and he would give you a ticket, and you would get your cake and your tea and sit there and enjoy the bands. And the MTA was like, oh, no.
Okay.
No ticket selling. So they stopped it with the tea. He called it a tea social, which was really cute, but the bands kept going. And people show up in their vintage finery, looking really elegant. They dance on the platforms and on the trains themselves. Yeah. So I thought, I'm not going to have my whole band. But, you know, Jeff McLaughlin as a guitarist is so good.
Yes,
that
Jeff,
he is like
thank you.
a band in and of himself.
Yes.
He can play lead, rhythm. He can play any genre. He's awesome. So I thought the roar of the train will be enough. We'll be on the train going one way, starting at 4:30. It should be like a half-hour ride. And we'll be playing and singing on the train itself, leaving 96th Street and 2nd Avenue on the Q line.
All right.
But if you go in there, starting at 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm telling you, everyone's going to be drifting around in tails and tuxedos and
I may come to take some pictures.
Fur-trimmed suits and whatnot, looking really spiffy, looking elegant. And I don't know where they're going to have the after party. That could be anywhere, probably a speakeasy.
All right.
We like to do these things that nobody knows about, but now I'm telling like a jillion people on the air.
Yeah, you are. All right, so we're going to let you sing this next song before our time runs out.
Oh, you know what? You're having a Leonard Bernstein moment.
Yes.
So I thought I would do a song by Leonard Bernstein from his musical Footloose and Fancy Free called Big Stuff.
All right.
He wrote it for Billie Holiday when he first came to New York before he ever met her or anything. His sister actually sang it. And they presented this musical at City Center. So this is one of the songs. It's a rare side. It's going to be featured on my album.
Good. Let's hear it.
So you cry, what's it about, baby? You ask why the blues had to go and pick you. So you go down to the shore, kid stuff. Don't you know there's honey in store for you? Big stuff. Let's take a ride in my gravy train. The doors open wide, coming from out of the rain. So you stare, call it despair, baby. Don't you care? I'm on the square about you. Let's have a try. It may be that you're my guy. Let's take a ride in my gravy train. The doors open wide, coming from out of the rain. So you stare, call it despair, baby. Don't you care? I'm on the square about you. Let's have a try. It may be that I'm your guy.
Wow, that was really nice.
Thank you. Oh, listen, we're going to be at Minton's on the 9th.
Oh, okay.
Minton's Harlem.
Yeah.
2 sets, 7:30 and 9:30. Doors open at 7.
All right. You know, I had the chef on my show.
Get
JJ,
out.
yeah, I had JJ on the show.
I love him.
I love him too.
I'm still mad at him that he made this really beautiful gullah dish, and he hasn't made it since.
Okay. Yeah, I had him on the show. He was really great.
Yeah, he's a crack up.
He really is. He's phenomenal. So before we end this segment, tell us what other tidbits you want to share with us. What other songs do you want to share with us tonight?
Could I sing another one?
Yeah.
Oh, well, why don't we do the cover, the leads, the lead, I can't talk. The cover song, the song that's going to be the title track.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I can't even talk. It's been a low carb day.
Okay.
Let's see. Things are looking up.
Yes.
Sorry.
This is great.
That was Marcel. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
We ready to go?
2, 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness. Things are looking up. I've been looking the landscape over, and it's covered in 4-leaf clovers. Oh, things are looking up since love looked up at me. Bitter was my cup, but no more will I be the more. No, I've certainly turned a corner. Oh, things are looking up since love looked up at me. See the sunbeams, everyone beams, just because of you. I'm confessing that my depression is unmistakably through. Things are looking up. It's a great little world we live in. Oh, I'm happy as a pup since love looked up at me. Depression is unmistakably through. Things are looking up. It's a great little world we live in. Oh, I'm happy as a pup since love looked up at me.
Fantastic. I love it.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I had a blip on the air.
Ah, don't worry about it. That's what radio is sometimes. You know, it's live and
it's
not
live. It's frightening.
It's not going to be,
I'm frightened.
exact, but it's warm.
It's got to be exact.
It's intimacy. It's all this
too close.
Great stuff going on.
Oh my goodness. I
Thank
can't take
you.
it.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We're going to take a break, and then we're going to bring on our next guest. But you're going to be with us in the second half as we do the reading for the women. So we're going to take a break now.
Throughout the month of January, New York City's Office of Media and Entertainment presents Jan Arts NYC, the largest music festival in the world. The public can enjoy innovative works hosted around the city. Arts organizations include Chamber Music America, the Public Theater Under the Radar Festival, Prototype, Opera Theater Now, International Society for the Performing Arts, Joyce Theater's American Dance Platform, American Realness, Performance Space 122's Coil Festival, NYC Winter Jazz Fest, Wavelengths, APAP Music World Pre-Conference, APAP NYC 2018, and Global Fest. For more information, janartsnyc.org. That's janartsnyc.org.
And we are back with State of the Arts NYC, where we cover art. And we had a delightful time with Queen Esther, listening to music live in the studio. And now we have with us Michael Barrett, who is the co-founder of New York Festival of Song. How are you, Michael?
I'm wonderful. I've been rehearsing like crazy all day long.
Oh, you're excited about tomorrow?
I am. I can't remember if I've ever produced an entire 8-hour concert, but that's what we're doing tomorrow.
Yes, and I've been promoting it. So why don't you tell our listeners about this festival and how you're honoring Leonard Bernstein?
Well, we're celebrating the Leonard Bernstein 100th birthday year, and we've had many events, but this is extraordinary in that it's a Leonard Bernstein Marathon. It's a free concert at the City University of New York Graduate Center.
Okay.
CUNY Grad Center on 5th Avenue and 35th Street in Elabash Auditorium. It's just show up and get a seat if you can, but we have a lot of amazing singers and 5 different incredible pianists. The flute player Paula Robeson is with us, Nick Kanalakis on cello, Michael Brown, Leanne Osterkamp, all kinds of people. And, of course, the New York Festival of Song will be part of that as well. But it's 8 continuous hours of the music of Leonard Bernstein. And everyone knows he's the guy who wrote West Side Story, of course, but he also wrote 3 other Broadway shows and 2 operas and a lot of instrumental music and a lot of songs. And we're celebrating all of that tomorrow starting at 1 o'clock, and we'll wind up at about 9 p.m.
Wow. Just to let you know, I was very fortunate where last year I got to meet Rita Moreno, who did West Side Story. And then this year I got to meet Chita Rivera, who did West Side Story.
So who was in the movie and who was in the show? Because they played the same role.
Well, Rita Moreno played the movie, and then Chita Rivera did it on Broadway. So I was really beside myself, thrilled that I got to meet both Anitas, both on film and on stage. And I was beside myself because... Well,
you were a lucky woman because I got to meet Rita Moreno and she was in my concerts. We did some concerts together, and this was 6 or 7 years ago. She could still dance.
Yes, she can.
Cut a rug, and she could sing, and she was beautiful. And I don't know how old she was, but she was a woman of a certain age, but she was incredible.
She is, and she had me laughing. Oh, my God, I was laughing so hard. She was telling me all these stories and everything, and she's a Bronx girl, and I grew up in the Bronx, so it was like I lost it. I was like, gee.
Yeah. Well, I live in the Bronx now. I've been living there for 18 years, so I guess we all have something in common.
Okay, great. So we have all of this in common. So what made you and your co-founder decide to do this?
Well, we do this series called Knife Lost Next, and it's about new music. And so I had 2 young composers who were connected to Leonard Bernstein circuitously. Of course, they never studied with him because he's been dead for over 2 decades. But they studied with a student of his.
Okay.
And they were chosen to be in this festival that I participated in Hong Kong. and my group, the New York Festival of Song, went there, and I made this deal with him that I would present these composers on my series in New York. They're young composers, and so the New York Festival of Song NYFOS Next series is going to be part of this show tomorrow. So my singers will be singing songs by Leonard Bernstein, as well as these two brand new pieces, which were written just for tonight. The music doesn't necessarily mirror Leonard Bernstein, or they're not tributes to him.
Okay.
But I wanted to put them on this program because they represent his ongoing legacy and his ongoing influence to young people. And it's amazing how important this is to the next generation coming up, and how they are learning about his music and studying him as an ethical human being and somebody who came down on the right side of history almost infallibly.
Okay.
And so it's been really a wonderful experience to work with these young composers. And so, yes, it's a Bernstein marathon, but we're going to have a little other music by, might I say, his spiritual disciples.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is wonderful. I mean, I love this. I mean, I love Leonard Bernstein. I think he was just a real American, because his story, his whole life story, is the American sort of dream, coming from a humble background, humble beginnings, and just creating his talent and sharing it with so many people. So with wonderful hits and wonderful operas and wonderful theater and wonderful films. So I love this. I think this is absolutely fabulous. And tell us a little bit about your organization. How long has it been around?
We are in our 30th year now.
Okay.
Stephen Blyer and I founded New York Festival of Song just over 30 years ago, and this is our 30th season.
Mm-hmm.
We have a main stage season at the Merkin Concert Hall on West 67th Street. We do the New York Festival of Song NYFOS Next series, which is all about new composers and new work. And then we also have 3 mentoring programs for young singers, young professional singers who are pretty sure are going to have real careers in opera or as vocalists on Broadway, or, some kind of professional career. And we mentor them and help them, and we work with them for a very intense period of time, and we give concerts with them. So we do that 3 times a year. It lasts between a week and 10 days, and each program is different. So we're very dedicated to new work, young talent, and also the idea of presenting vocal music in fresh ways and in ways that people might not consider. And it allows us also to uncover a lot of forgotten songs from all over the world and present them to the public in a very interesting context. So it's been a joy, 30 years of doing this.
Well, you couldn't have picked a better time of year, too, because this is the time of year where everyone wants to celebrate life and want to share it with family and loved ones. So I think you picked the best time. So before we end our time together, give us again the details on how people can participate in your festival this weekend.
It's tomorrow, Saturday, from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., 8 hours long. You don't have to stay for the whole thing. Okay. So if you have a few free hours tomorrow, come and check it out. If it's crowded, we have an extra room with a screen set up and a live feed, so you can watch the concert, and then you'll see if people are leaving. You can go in and get your own seat.
Okay.
But 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock, the music of Leonard Bernstein, City University of New York, CUNY Graduate Center, 35th Street and 5th Avenue. It's just a kitty corner to the Empire State Building. Right here, and a beautiful concert hall. It's in the old B. Altman building.
Yes.
And now it's the CUNY Grad Center.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Okay, a lot of people don't remember B. Altman. I remember that as a kid.
Well, I guess you do.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Michael, for joining us. And I am going to try to stop by tomorrow afternoon to hear the great music that you are presenting.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you here.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
State of the Arts NYC continues a recent tradition of celebrating the publication of The Snowy Day, a groundbreaking literary gem by author and book illustrator Ezra Jack Keats. It tells the story of a little boy named Peter who puts on his snowsuit and steps out of his house and into the hearts of millions of readers. The Snowy Day transformed children's literature with its pioneering portrayal of an African American child. The charming story and artwork won a Caldecott Medal. The book will be read by yours truly, Malika Lee Whitney, and broadcast live Friday, December 8th on WBAI Radio 99.5 FM. State of the Arts airs at 5 p.m. and is produced and hosted by Savona Bailey-McClain.
And we are back with State of the Arts NYC, where we cover art. And we had another wonderful conversation with Michael Barrett. He's the co-founder of New York Festival of Song. And now we move on to our other segment, a very special segment, and that is to honor the late Linda Nochlin. And she wrote this groundbreaking essay, Why Have There Been No Great Women Artists? So I have compiled a lot of women artists, curators, performers, and creative professionals to read that essay for you. And I just want to name all of these women before we start. We have Anne Lewis, Prairie Miller, Michelle Preed, Kathleen Recklin. We have Queen Esther, Pamela Jean Tinnen. We have Brittany Clark. We have Lena Puerta. We have Lumi Tan. We have Lisa Dent. We have Michelle Hartney. And we have Alessandra Mondolfi. So all of these women are here working with me as we start to present this essay. And I will kick it off with the first paragraph. Why have there been no great women artists? The question tolls reproachfully in the background of most discussions of the so-called woman problem. But like so many other so-called questions involved in the feminist controversy, it falsifies the nature of the issue at the same time that it insidiously supplies its own answer. There are no great women artists because women are incapable of greatness. Now we will have our second reader.
The assumptions behind such a question are varied in range and sophistication, running anywhere from scientifically proven demonstrations of the inability of human beings with wombs rather than penises to create anything significant, to relatively open-minded wonderment that women, despite so many years of near equality, and after all, a lot of men have their disadvantages too, have still not achieved anything of exceptional significance in the visual arts.
Our third reader is Prairie Miller.
The feminist's first reaction is to swallow the bait, hook, line, and sinker, and to attempt to answer the question as it is put, that is, to dig up examples of worthy or insufficiently appreciated women artists throughout our history, to rehabilitate rather modest, if not interesting and productive careers, to rediscover forgotten flower painters or David followers and make out a case for them, to demonstrate that Bertha Morisot was really less dependent upon Manet than one had been led to think. In other words, to engage in the normal activity of the specialist scholar who makes a case for the importance of his own very neglected or minor master. Such attempts, whether undertaken from a feminist point of view, like the ambitious article on women artists, which appeared in the 1858 Westminster Review, or more recent scholarly studies on such artists as Angelica Kaufman and Artemisia Gentileschi, are certainly worth the effort, both in adding to our knowledge of women's achievements and of art history generally, but they do nothing to question the assumptions lying behind the question, why have there been no great women artists? On the contrary, attempting to answer it, they tacitly reinforce its negative implications. 4. Another attempt to answer the question involves shifting the ground slightly and asserting, as some contemporary feminists do, that there is a different kind of greatness for women's art than for men's, thereby postulating the existence of a distinctive and recognizable feminist style, different in both its formal and its expressive qualities, and based on the special characters of women's situation and experience.
We now have Michelle Preed.
This, on the surface of it, seems reasonable enough. In general, women's experience and situation in society, and hence as artists, is different from men's. And certainly the art produced by a group of consciously united and purposefully articulated women intent on embodying forth a group consciousness of feminine experience might indeed be stylistically identifiable as feminist, if not feminine, art. Unfortunately, though, this remains within the realm of possibility as has so far not occurred. While the members of the Danube school, the followers of Caravaggio, the painters gathered around Gauguin and Pont-Aven, the Blue Rider, or the Cubists may be recognized by certain clearly defined stylistic or expressive qualities, no such common qualities or femininity would seem to link the styles of women artists generally, any more than such qualities can be said to link women writers, a case brilliantly argued against the most devastating and mutually contradictory masculine critical cliches by Mary Ellman in her Thinking About Women. No subtle essence of femininity would seem to link the work of Artemisia Gentileschi, Mademoiselle Vigée Lebrun, Angelica Kaufman, Rosa Bonheur, Berthe Morlot, Suzanne Valadon, Kathy Kulowitz, Barbara Hepworth, George O'Keeffe, Sophie Tauber-Arp, Helen Frankenthaler, Bridget Riley, Lee Bondenko, or Louise Nevelson, and any more than that of Sappho, Marie de France, Jane Austen, Emily Bront, George Sand, George Eliot, Virginia Woolf, Gertrude Stein, Anais Nin, Emily Dickinson, Sylvia Plath, and Susan Sontag. In every instance, women artists and writers would seem to be closer to other artists and writers of their own period and outlook than they are to each other. Women artists are more inward-looking, more delicate and nuanced in their treatment of their medium, it may be asserted. But which of the women artists cited above is more inward-turning than Redon, more subtle and nuanced in the handling of pigment than Corot? Is Fragonard more or less feminine than Mademoiselle Vigée Lebrun? Or is it not more a question of the whole Rococo style of 18th century France being feminine? If judged in terms of a binary scale of masculinity versus femininity, certainly if daintiness, delicacy, and precociousness are to be counted as earmarks of a feminine style, there is nothing fragile about Rosa Bonheur's Horse Fair, nor dainty and introverted about Helen Frankenthaler's giant canvases. If women have turned the scenes of domestic life or of children, so did Jan Steen, Chardin, and the Impressionists Renoir and Monet, as well as Morisot and Cassatt. In any case, the mere choice of a certain realm of subject matter or the restriction to certain subjects is not to be equated with a style, much less with some sort of quintessentially feminine style.
We now have Kathleen Recklin.
The problem lies not so much with some feminist concept of what femininity is, but rather with their misconceptions, shared with the public at large, of what art is, with the naive idea that art is the direct, personal expression of individual emotional experience, the translation of personal life into visual terms. Art is almost never that. Great art never is. The making of art involves a self-consistent language of form, more or less dependent upon or free from given temporarily defined conventions, schemata, or systems of notation which have to be learned or worked out either through teaching, apprenticeship, or a long period of individual experimentation. The language of art is more materially embodied in paint and line on canvas or paper, in stone or clay or plastic or metal. It is neither a sob story nor a confidential whisper. The fact of the matter is that there have been no supremely great women artists, as far as we know, although there have been many interesting and very good ones who remain insufficiently investigated or appreciated. Nor have there been any great Lithuanian jazz pianists, nor Eskimo tennis players, no matter how much we might wish there had been. That this should be the case is regrettable, but no amount of manipulating the historical or critical evidence will alter the situation, nor will accusations of male chauvinist distortion of history. There are no women equivalents for Michelangelo or Rembrandt, Delacroix or Cézanne, Picasso or Matisse, or even, in very recent times, for de Kooning or Warhol, any more than there are Black American equivalents for the same. If there actually were large numbers of hidden great women artists, or if there really should be different standards for women's art as opposed to men's, and one can't have it both ways, then what are feminists fighting for? If women have in fact achieved the same status as men in the arts, then the status quo is fine as it is.
Savona McClain. But in actuality, as we all know, things as they are and as they have been in the arts, as in 100 other areas, are stultifying, oppressive, and discouraging to all those, women among them, who did not have the good fortune to be born white, preferably middle class, and above all male. The fault lies not in our stars, our hormones, our menstrual cycles, or our empty internal spaces, but in our institutions and our education. Education understood to include everything that happens to us from the moment we enter this world of meaningful symbols, signs, and signals. The miracle is, in fact, that given the overwhelming odds against women or blacks, that so many of both have managed to achieve so much sheer excellence in those bailiwicks of a white masculine pejorative like science, politics, or the arts. We now will have Queen Esther.
It is when one really starts thinking about the implications of why have there been no great women artists that one begins to realize to what extent our consciousness of how things are in the world has been conditioned and often falsified by the way the most important questions are posed. We tend to take it for granted that there really is an East Asian problem, a poverty problem, a black problem, and a woman problem. But first, we must ask ourselves, who is formulating these questions, and then what purposes such formulations may serve. We may, of course, refresh our memories with the connotations of the Nazis' Jewish problem. Indeed, in our time of instant communication, problems are rapidly formulated to rationalize the bad conscience of those with power. Thus, the problem posed by the Americans in Vietnam and Cambodia is referred to by Americans as the East Asian problem, whereas East Asians may view it more realistically as the American problem. The so-called poverty problem might more directly be viewed as the wealth problem by denizens of urban ghettos or rural wastelands. The same irony twists the white problem into its opposite, a black problem, and the same inverse logic turns up in the formulation of our own present state of affairs as the woman problem. Now, the woman problem, like all human problems, so-called, and the very idea of calling anything to do with human beings a problem is, of course, a fairly recent one, is not amenable to solution at all, since what human problems involve is reinterpretation of the nature of the situation or a radical alteration of stance or program on the part of the problems themselves. Thus, women and their situation in the arts, as in other realms of endeavor, are not a problem to be viewed through the eyes of the dominant male power elite. Instead, women must conceive of themselves as potentially, if not actually, equal subjects, and must be willing to look at the facts of their situation full in the face without self-pity or cop-outs. At the same time, they must view their situation with that high degree of emotional and intellectual commitment necessary to create a world in which equal achievement will be not only made possible, but actively encouraged by social institutions.
Pamela Jean Tinnen.
It is certainly not realistic to hope that a majority of men in the arts or any other field will soon see the light and find that it is in their own self-interest to grant complete equality to women, as some feminists optimistically assert, or to maintain that men themselves will soon realize that they are diminished by denying themselves access to traditionally feminine realms and emotional reactions. After all, there are few areas that are really denied to men. If the level of operations demanded to be transcendent, responsible, or rewarding enough, men who have a need for feminine involvement with babies or children gain status as pediatricians or child psychologists, with a nurse, female, to do the more routine work. Those who feel the urge for kitchen creativity may gain fame as master chefs, and, of course, men who yearn to fulfill themselves through what are often termed feminine artistic interests can find themselves as painters or sculptors, rather than as volunteer museum aides or part-time ceramicists, as their female counterparts so often end up doing. As so far as scholarship is concerned, how many men would be willing to change their jobs as teachers and researchers for those of unpaid part-time research assistants and typists, as well as full-time nannies and domestic workers?
And now we have reader 14, and that will be Brittany Clark.
Those who have privileges inevitably hold on to them, and hold tight, no matter how marginal the advantage involved, until compelled to bow to superior power of one sort or another. Thus the question of women's equality, in art as in any other realm, devolves not upon the relative benevolence or ill will of individual men, nor the self-confidence or abjectness of individual women, but rather on the very nature of our institutional structures themselves, and the view of reality which they impose on the human beings who are a part of them. As John Stuart Mill pointed out more than a century ago, everything which is usual appears natural. The subjection of women to men being a universal custom, any departure from it quite naturally appears unnatural. Most men, despite lip service to equality, are reluctant to give up this natural order of things in which their advantages are so great. For women, the case is further complicated by the fact that, as Mill astutely pointed out, unlike other oppressed groups or castes, men demand of them not only submission but unqualified affection as well. Thus women are often weakened by the internalized demands of the male-dominated society itself, as well as by a plethora of material goods and comforts. The middle-class woman has a great deal more to lose than her chains.
Pamela Jean Tinnen.
The question, why have there been no great women artists, is simply the top tenth of an iceberg of misinterpretation and misconception. Beneath lies a vast, dark bulk of shaky ideas, recuse about the nature of art and its situational concomitants, about the nature of human abilities in general, and of human excellence in particular, and the role that social order plays in all of this. While the women problem as such may be a pseudo-issue, the misconceptions involved in the question, why have there been no great women artists, points to major areas of intellectual obfuscation beyond the specific political and ideological issues involved in the subjection of women. Basic to the question are many naive, distorted, uncritical assumptions about the making of art in general, as well as the making of great art. These assumptions, conscious or unconscious, link together such unlikely superstars as Michelangelo and Van Gogh, Raphael and Jackson Pollock, under the rubric of great and honorific attested to the number of scholarly monographs devoted to the artist in question, and the great artist is, of course, conceived of as one who has genius. Genius, in turn, is thought of as a temporal and mysterious power somehow embedded in the person of the great artist. Such ideas are related to unquestioned, often unconscious, meta-historical premises that make Hippolyte Taine's race milieu movement formation of the dimensions of historical thought seem a model of sophistication. But these assumptions are intrinsic to a great deal of art historical writing. It is no accident that the crucial study of the conditions generally productive of great art has so rarely been investigated, or that attempts to investigate such general problems have, until fairly recently, been dismissed as unscholarly, too broad, or the provenance of some other discipline like sociology. To encourage a dispassionate, impersonal, sociological, and institutional-oriented approach would reveal the entire romantic, elitist, individual-glorifying, and monograph-producing substructure upon which the profession of art history is based, and which has only recently been called into question by a group of younger dissidents.
Lena Puente.
Underlying the question about women as artists, then we find the myth of the great artist subject of 100 monographs unique, godlike barren within his person since birth a mysterious essence, rather like the golden nugget in Mrs. Grass's chicken soup, called genius or talent, which, like murder, must always out, no matter how unlikely or unpromising the circumstances.
Pamela Jean Tinnen. The magical aura surrounding the representational arts and their creators has, of course, given birth to myths since the earliest time. Interestingly enough, the same magical abilities attributed by Pliny to the Greek sculptor Lysippos in antiquity, the mysterious inner call in early youth, the lack of any teacher but nature herself, is repeated as late as the 19th century by Max Bujon in his biography of Courbet. The supernatural powers of the artist as imitator, his control of strong, possibly dangerous powers, have functioned historically to set him off from others as a godlike creator, one who creates being out of nothing. The fairy tale of the discovery by an older artist or discerning patron of the boy wonder, usually in the guise of a lowly shepherd boy, has been a stock in trade of artistic mythology ever since Vasari immortalized the young Guillotte discovered by the great Cimabue while the lad was guarding his flocks, drawing sheep on a stone. Cimabue, overcome with the admiration for the realism of drawing, immediately invited the humble youth to be his pupil. Through some mysterious coincidence, later artists, including Beccafume, Andrea Sansovino, Andrea del Castagnano, Mantegna Zurbaran, and Goya, were all discovered in similar pastoral circumstances. Even when the young great artist was not fortunate enough to come equipped with a flock of sheep, his talent always seemed to have manifested itself very early and independent of any external encouragement. Filippo Lippi and Poussin, Courbet, and Monet are all reported to have drawn caricatures in the margins of their school books instead of studying the required subjects. We never, of course, hear about the youths who neglected their studies and scribbled in the margins of their notebooks without ever becoming anything more elevated than department store clerks or shoe salesmen. The great Michelangelo himself, according to his biographer and pupil Vasari, did more drawing than studying as a child. So pronounced was his talent, reports Vasari, that when his master, Leandro, absent himself momentarily from his work in Santa Maria Novella, and the young art student took the opportunity to draw the scaffolding, trestles, pots of paint, brushes, and the apprentices at their task in this brief absence, he did it so skillfully that upon his return the master exclaimed, "This boy knows more than I do." Lumi Tan.
As is so often the case, such stories, which probably have some truth in them, tend both to reflect and perpetuate the attitudes they subsume. Even when based on fact, these myths about the early manifestations of genius are misleading. It is no doubt true, for example, that the young Picasso passed all the examinations for entrance to the Barcelona and later to the Madrid Academy of Art at the age of 15 in but a single day, a feat of such difficulty that most candidates required a month of preparation. But one would like to find out more about similar precocious qualifiers for art academies who then went on to achieve nothing but mediocrity or failure, in whom, of course, art historians are uninterested, or to study in greater detail the role played by Picasso's art professor father in the pictorial precocity of his son. What if Picasso had been born a girl? Would Senor Ruiz have paid as much attention or stimulated as much ambition for achievement in a little Pablita?
And we are back with State of the Arts NYC. So, wow, that was a marathon of us reading this essay, and we will complete the essay next week on our broadcast. I just want to wish everyone a great week, and we'll see you next week, Friday. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name's Katie Halper, and I'm the host of The Katie Halper Show, which you can hear every